All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you do have any questions, throw them in the chat. Duane's going to help monitor that. We'll tell you a little bit more about who we are here in just a second. I'm trying to actually get rid of some of the stuff on my screen so I can see more, but let's get rid of that. Okay, so welcome. We are thrilled to be here. My name is Paul Evans with Matthews Paint. We also have Duane Dorminey. We are going to be doing a webinar for Glance today on cold weather application tips and tricks. This is the perfect time to discuss this topic. We have obviously temperatures are starting to drop. I'm based in Florida and I'm thrilled for that to be happening here. Other parts of the country are dropping as well. And we've also had some product changes recently. So this is a great topic and a perfect time of year. And maybe there we go. Okay, Chris Reamer is our boss. He is the global sales manager for Matthews Paint. He was traveling this morning, is stuck in a cab right now, so he is not able to join us. So he won't be here with us today. Duane Dorminey. Duane's on the phone or on the call right there. You can see Duane. Duane, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Duane. I'm a tech rep with Matthews Paint. I've been with the Matthews Paint Group since 2019, and between Paul and myself, we cover all of North America, the US, Canada, handling paint installs, training on site and in our own training centers, and a myriad of other things. But we are here to support our customers through our great distributor Glance, and help the Glance employees as well. Anytime any technical questions or product questions, any of that comes up, Paul and I are your go-tos for any of those answers. So happy to meet everybody and happy to be here.
Great, thanks, Duane. And as Duane said, I'm the other tech rep with Matthews, so we do cover a lot of territory. We are here at your disposal, and there is our contact information. So you'll see our phone numbers, that's our cell numbers, and our email addresses. We want you to know that you can reach out to us. Keep in mind, as Duane just mentioned, there's two of us that do cover a large piece of real estate. There's oftentimes we are in an airplane or we're in a shop or a classroom. We may not always be able to take a phone call right away. So keeping that in mind, our 800 number is a great resource. You're going to be able to get to somebody very quickly. They can handle and answer a lot of questions. And if they can't, if it's something that they're not sure about, they reach out to us anyway. And then whoever can get back to you the soonest will reach out, call you, email you, whatever we need to do to get in contact with you. So that's just more resources for you. So keep that information. This presentation has been sent out. So Glance has this, and they'll have it for a reference as well. Okay, so we're going to jump into this. We're going to go through some information. This is a 30-minute webinar. It should not take that long to go through the information that we have, and that should leave us some time to answer questions at the end. I see that the chat's filling up, so Duane's going to monitor that, and he'll pipe up with anything if it's appropriate, or we'll just review them all at the end. We're going to start with fundamentals. That's always our starting point. In our training manual, we have a whole section on fundamentals. It's a great resource. By the way, that training manual is available on our website, along with our substrate guide, technical data sheets, all the information you can need. It's right on our website, very easy to get to. We also cover all this in our regular training classes. We are putting together our schedule for next year right now, and hopefully in the coming weeks, we'll have that finalized and have that published so you'll be able to see where those classes are going to be. So these are what we call the golden rules of success, or the 6 keys of fundamentals. Number 1, properly prepare the substrate. That is critical. Preparation is going to be extremely important, one of the most important steps in doing any type of a paint job. Our substrate guide actually addresses that. It identifies, or you already should know what substrate you're working on, but it'll help identify what primers can be used, what prep steps, what cleaners can be used. So that is all in our substrate guide. It's in our training manual. So the information is readily available. That guide will also help you select the right products. Again, which cleaner do I use on a particular substrate? Is it acrylic? Is it HDU? Is it body filler? Is it wood? We have different cleaners or cleaning recommendations. Sometimes it's not to use a cleaner, for example, on wood or body filler, but the substrate guide will let you know what those products are and specifically which primers can be used on which substrates. Using the right spray equipment. There's a lot of different spray guns out there, and you can use basically your favorite, but what our data sheets will let you know what fluid tip size should I be using. That's going to help narrow down what you should be using from an equipment standpoint for a particular product. Follow the technical data sheet instructions. That's the TDS instructions that'll walk you through exactly which reducers to use, which catalysts, which accelerators, mixing instructions, what the mix ratio is, any special additives. All of that information is in the technical data sheets.
An important piece there to add to what Paul just said is number of coats as well. Some of our primers, most of them are one coat primers, but sometimes you would apply 2 coats, or if you're coating wood or HDU sign foam, sometimes 3 or more coats to get everything filled in and smoothed out. So all that information is on those sheets as well.
That's a great point. One of the things I really like about our data sheets along those lines is our wet and dry film readings. So we talk about how many mils of paint, how many mils of primer. We give you the readings of what it should be wet. We have ways of reading wet film, and also what it would be dry. That would be after everything is dried and it's cured, and you can actually test the dry film thickness. So all of that data on those data sheets, very important, very easy to get to. The last bullet you'll see there is maintaining temperature and airflow in the spray booth. That is critical. That's going to lead us into our discussion. And out of all of this, the one we're really going to focus on is really choosing the correct reducer and the accelerators. Catalyst, most of the time, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, you're not going to have another option for a catalyst. There are a couple of rare exceptions, but most of the time you're going to use one catalyst, whether it's a primer, whether it's a top coat, a clear, and then the reducers. Maybe some of our primers do take reducers, some don't. But as far as accelerator use, reducer use, that's where you're going to have to make some decisions. So that's what we're going to focus on here today. So let's start out with critical decision number 1, choosing the right reducer. Duane and I get phone calls all the time. We get emails all the time. Problems that a customer is having in their shop. We start asking questions. And one of the first things we want to know is, what reducer are you using? How big is that job? What spray gun are you using? What fluid tip? So these are things we are going to ask, and 9 times out of 10, our customers are using a wrong reducer. And this has gone on in the painting industry for decades. So we're trying to help educate. That's why we're here today. Let's talk a little bit about reducers and what they do. They do a couple of different things. They do make the paint sprayable. Sometimes we call them thinners, reducers, solvents. There's a lot of different words, but they make the paint sprayable, thin enough to spray. They aid in application. Otherwise, it wouldn't come out of the spray gun. They help keep that edge wet long enough, especially if you're doing a large job. You need that paint to stay wet long enough. We like things to dry and cure quickly, but during the application process, they need to be wet long enough to go on the panel and do what they're supposed to do. They will help aid in leveling and appearance. If you ever see a job that maybe has streaks in it or blotchiness, oftentimes the wrong reducer was used. So adhesion, if the paint goes on or the primer goes on too dry, it's not going to adhere the way it's supposed to. These products, as I said, are supposed to go on there wet, and that way we ensure good adhesion. And the reducers also aid in the drying and the flashing off. And that flashing is basically drying between coats. It's letting some of the solvent come out of there. Now, all of our products actually have reducer or solvents built into them. So whether it's the paint, whether it's the primer, even the catalyst or hardeners, whatever you want to call them, anything that's liquid is going to have a certain amount of solvent built into it. But then with our paint, our top coats, and our clear, we are going to add more reducer. Now, the reason we don't build it into the product to begin with, we can add that component, but we have different reducers for a reason. And you'll see the chart below is going to help explain why we have these different reducers. The first thing you'll notice on the chart is broken up by temperature. So you see it starts at 60, goes all the way up to 100 degrees. That is basically our prime temperature for painting. We don't want to go below 60. We don't want to go below 100. So somewhere in the middle, 70, 75, 80, that's really the sweet spot, but we don't always have that. So temperature is only one of those factors. That's the first thing we should consider, but it's not the only thing we should consider. Size of the job, that's going to be critical. If I'm doing a test panel, a small sample, 1 foot by 1 foot, 2 feet by 2 feet, that's not a big deal. But when I start doing something that's very large, something that's giving me a lot of surface area, especially a lot of the stuff that we do is big flat pieces, it's very important to make sure we're using the right reducer. And to get around that large piece, we may actually go to a higher temperature reducer. Now, keep in mind, when we talk about a higher temperature reducer, we're just talking about moving up one temperature range over what we would normally see on this chart. So that's just been a common teaching point that Duane and I have had for many years. We've got quite a bit of paint experience between us, and we know that going the wrong way with the reducer can get you in trouble, but going one temperature range hotter usually is going to fix a lot of problems. Reducer does not speed up the cure time. So a lot of people think that if I go with a fast evaporating reducer, it's going to make my paint dry and cure faster. Well, it will actually make it dry on the surface quicker, but it'll actually cure slower and hold solvent in, which actually slows down the overall dry time. That's where we use accelerators. So as we say here, reducer does not speed it up, but accelerators will. We're going to talk about that more on the next slide.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, the accelerator is a big part of this cold temperature or cooler temperature application that this whole webinar is all about, because multiple components in the paint. There's the paint, the catalyst, which is a chemical reaction happening where the paint is physically transforming from liquid to a solid. And that process takes the same amount of time, no matter which one of these reducers you choose to put into that paint when you're mixing it. So when the temperatures are cool, and especially if both scenarios, the temperatures are cool and the job is small, a faster reducer will help in part of the equation. But the other part of the equation is what Paul just mentioned. The chemical reaction between the catalyst and the paint still takes time to happen to get from wet to cured, and accelerator is a key component of that and almost becomes necessary when temperatures drop.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great points. So for this presentation, for the sake of time, we are focusing on the conventional reducers. So that's the numbers you see here. That's the example we're using. This information applies across the board, whether you're doing low VOC, ultra low VOC, but we're going to focus on conventional. That is the majority of our customer base out there. And you'll see those choices here in that conventional line. There's actually 4 different reducers and 1 retarder. So starting from left to right, 6379, then we go to 45280, 45290, 6396, and 45251 is actually a retarder. And there is an asterisk there for a reason. You'll see the note at the bottom of the page. We never use retarder by itself. If you're really in those hot conditions, you would mix it 50-50 or a 1-to-1 blend with your 6396. That really slows down the way that product dries and gives you more working time in hot temperatures. But we're not in hot temperatures right now, so we're going to work back to the bottom end of that scale. And here's a big change that's taking place. For years, we have taught 6379 cool temp reducer, stay away from it. Could you use it? Yes. Will it work? Yes. But it's got to be something small. Temperature's got to be cool. And it causes a lot of problems because shops try to use it too far. We have been teaching to use 45280 as really your starting point. So we have decided to make a change as a company. 6379 is going to be discontinued. That is going away. Now, basically, we're at a point, whatever's out there is going to get sold, and that will be it. That'll be gone. 45280, which we call a warm temp, we will change the label. We're not changing the product at all, but we will change the label to say cool to warm. So anywhere from 60 degrees up to 80 degrees, that product works really well. And as I mentioned earlier, Duane and I always teach, hey, go one temperature range hotter than you think you need. So we're kind of forcing our customers to do that here. It's going to make this product work the way it should work. So we're starting at a cooler temperature, but it will work just fine. And as Duane mentioned earlier, the accelerator, when you're in those cool temps, the accelerator is really going to be critical. It's going to play a critical role. So this is a little bit about the reducers. That's the change that's coming. 6379 going away. 45280 should be your starting point. We go all around the country. I teach shops in the winter time. You're going to have 45280 and probably some 45290. Summertime, you're going to be moving up to 45290 and 6396. And maybe if you're in really hot environments, that retarder, bringing that in is a good idea. So this is just a nice chart. It's a nice visual, lets you see where they stack up. You'll also notice that all of these reducers have an overlap to them. So when you look at 80 degrees, for example, I could really pick from 3 different reducers. But as I mentioned earlier, always better to go one temperature range hotter when you need to. And 45280 is going to do a great job when we're in those 60 degrees. The reason we start at 60.
We got about 10.
Go ahead.
We got about 10 minutes left.
All right. So 60 degrees is our minimum. If we go below 60, we sacrifice cross-linking. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to accelerators. So accelerators have several benefits. Many times they're optional, but in those cool temps, as Duane mentioned, this is going to really be critical to making the product cure the way it should. So it does actually speed up that curing or that cross-linking process, and it helps counteract those effects of cool temp. So the reducer is going to help get the paint where it's supposed to be, keep it wet long enough to do what it's supposed to do. And then now the accelerator works on a cross-linking curing level to make it actually cure, which will drive out the solvent and help it dry as well. So which accelerator to use? You'll see the chart on this page actually shows 4 different accelerators that can be used in our conventional line. We have these charts on the website in the additive section for each of our lines. I'm going to narrow this down for you. Number 1, 47117, you'll see it's crossed off. There really was no use for this except when we had some product shortages. We put our customers into this product, but we don't need it anymore. So it narrows it down on this list to 3 different accelerators. The first one is 287-437. Standard strength accelerator, works very well for shops that aren't comfortable with accelerator. Maybe they've gotten in trouble before. This is a good one to start with. You can also use it in our base coat converter. If you decide to accelerate your converted base coat, this is the only option for that product. The MAP LVA 117, it works in conventional. There's no benefit to using it. It is an ultra low VOC accelerator. So it's on the chart. If for some reason you had it or you couldn't get anything else, you could use it. But we generally steer our customers away from this, our conventional customers away from this product. 287-484, we call this turbo. It's 3 times as strong as the 287-437. So these are the 2 where we want you to be. You'll see that last point on there. Most shops will benefit from having both 287-437 and 287-484. Follow the charts, calculate how many ounces of ready to spray product you have, and this chart will let you know exactly how much accelerator to weigh in. So that's a little change on the accelerators. Cool temps, I encourage using one of these 2 accelerators, the 287-437 or 287-484. And again, these are conventional, as I mentioned earlier. So why consolidate now? We're getting rid of some of these products. There are several products that are going away this year. Just touching on them quickly, we've had better options in place for many years now. The youngest of those products that we have is our Brilliant White Primer. That's been out for over 3 years. The other products we have been out for much longer than that. They are better. They're newer technology. They eliminate redundancy. environmentally friendly. They do more things, multi-purpose products. We have more single coat primers. A lot of the older primers were all double coat. Now you have an option. You can do one coat or two, and ultimately less products to stock. I'm not going to go through this in detail. This was a letter sent out back in July. It lists the products that were going away, and it also has the replacements for those products. As I mentioned earlier, they'll continue to be sold till the stock is depleted, and then that's it. We aren't making these products anymore, and I think we're going to be a lot better off once they're all out of our system. So we kind of ran through that quickly. That puts us right about at 25 minutes, gives us a few minutes for Q&A. So what kind of questions do we have?
I'm not sure if the participants are allowed to speak, if their microphone option has been turned on. So if anybody does have questions, you can use the chat feature and I'll be able to see it and we can address those as well.
So do we have some in the chat already, Duane?
We just got one from Shannon Scott Smith. The question is it possible to ever paint under 60 degrees?
That is a great question. I will give you my opinion. Duane can chime in here. It happens all the time, but here's what we sacrifice. It may not cross-link properly. Now, the paint will eventually dry, and you can put the object, the sign, you can put it in the service, but it may actually end up failing prematurely. So instead of lasting 5 or 6 years, maybe in 2 or 3 years, you start to see it fail. It all depends on how cold it got and how long it got cold. So if at all possible, maintain that temperature. The accelerator is going to push that cross-linking, that curing a lot faster, so it helps in those situations.
Yeah, and I'll give my answer to it as well, but we did get another question. Can you back up one screen to the discontinued products again so folks can take note? And my answer to the, is it possible to ever paint under 60 degrees? I used to have a hard no to that. There is chemical reactions going on. There is paint drying considerations you have to take. But I grew up and I lived in Georgia for the first 41 years of my life. And in 2016, moved up to Cleveland, Ohio for PPG to work in the office up there before coming to Matthews. And it's a different world up here, where real winter happens up here versus down south. And not all of the shops, not all of our customers have heated booths that are nice and fancy and can keep it at 72 degrees, even when the weather is cold. So sometimes you have to paint when it's under 60 degrees. My answer to that when asked directly, like this question is keep the paint and the job that's being painted as warm as you can for as long as you can during and after the painting process, whether that means bringing in infrared lights or rolling in, blower style salamander heaters after the spraying's done, or painting the pieces in the booth and then opening the doors and bringing them back out into the shop where there's more heat versus air being pulled in. Anything you can do will help in this situation. Having the gun set up properly and applying the paint properly and putting the accelerator in is the biggest thing the painter can do. And that's what this seminar, that's what this little webinar was all about, to get that information out there. So that's my answer. We do have 2 other questions. What is a Matthews paint product you think every Matthews paint user should have in their shop? Wow, great question. Fantastic question. My opinion, the most underutilized product that there's really 2. There's our newest primer, the Brilliant White Primer, is a game changer. This thing, you can paint the inside and outside when you're priming metal channel letters or cabinets or anything that's going to be lit on the inside. You can do it all at once in one application and get the bright white light reflectivity out of it. And then for color application, base coat converter has so many uses of doing multiple colors quickly, You can do up to 4 colors inside of one day, and tape on top of it, the extra metallic control it gives you. It's a fantastic product that not as many people are utilizing that I think should.
Yep.
Paul, do you have anything different?
We could be here all day talking about the products that you need, but no, those are two very important ones. Probably from a cleaner standpoint, 6410 is a fantastic pre-cleaner. It is, in my opinion, our best cleaner out there. I like all the cleaners we have. They all do something different, but 6410 is, if I had one, that would be the one to have.
Excellent. Kevin Potter asked, is the consolidated list available on the website?
I believe it is. I'm not sure exactly where it is. So we'll have to check and follow that up and see. It should be out there somewhere, but I don't know. I haven't actually looked for the letter after it was sent out.
And Paul and Duane, this is Heather Issing with Glance. We can also work on that on our side. So
Great.
We can get that list out to the customers that are on this webinar.
That's perfect.
Excellent. I know that if through Glance, that's the best way to get it, but our customer service can get this a PDF copy of this as well. So they could call into our 1-800 number. Next question from Mitch McGee. How long should you wait to spray clear on fresh paint?
Okay, that's a great question. Generally, we think of clear as just being another 2 coats of top coat. Now, of course, you start stacking a lot of coats, that's going to be a couple of coats of paint, a couple of coats of clear. So usually your flash time is going to be about 10 minutes. I'd go a little bit more than that if I have a metallic, because metallics can start to swim around on you a little bit. But it also is affected on whether or not you've used the accelerator. So accelerator is going to speed up things, and you're going to need to go a little bit faster because you can get into a little bit of a recoat issue. So generally, you're looking at about 10 minutes, maybe up to 20 minutes between top coat and clear, but there are some other circumstances there. So if you need us to clarify that, just reach out. If you have any particular jobs you want to talk about, maybe we can help give you a more definitive answer.
Excellent. Great answer. Will accelerator help shorten outgassing to reduce time to apply reflective vinyl?
That is an excellent question. The answer is yes. So it drastically will shorten that period of time. And all of that information, it's on our data sheets. There's a drying time table that lets you know what the different accelerators do. First of all, let you know what those times are without accelerator, and then using the various accelerators, how much quicker it gets for regular vinyl as well as reflective vinyl. So without going through the numbers, having it on the top of my head, I would just say go to the data sheet on the website, go to page 3, I believe, on every data sheet, you will see the estimated drying times table.
Yes. Excellent. Sean wrote, is the accelerator amount for when the paint has been mixed with catalyst and reducer or before?
Fantastic question. And it's going to be once it is mixed. We call that RTS, or ready to spray. That means you put catalyst reducer in it, and then you would add the amount. And that chart I showed you, I know it was hard to see on this PowerPoint slide, but go to the website, go to additives, pull up that accelerator mixing chart. There's a one by weight, one by grams. I'm sorry, weight is grams, and one by volume. So you got both versions. I like the weight. I like to measure it out by weight, but it'll let you know exactly how many ounces of ready to spray material. Great question.
Correct. Perry wanted to say hi from Painesville, Ohio. Hello, Perry. Greetings.
Hey, Perry.
Also, we have, will we be having another session logged in late?
Hi, this is Heather again from Glance. We will have this recorded, so we'll try our best to get this out to you guys. If you did sign in late, Duane and Paul are always stars of our show, so we will try and convince them to talk paint with us again. They make it sound very easy, but it's complex. So right now we don't have anything scheduled, but certainly in the future, I'm sure you'll see more of this. So.
Absolutely. We are happy to do these as our schedules allow. And if the customers would like more information and more of these quick webinars, Paul and I are ecstatic and happy to provide this.
So this is a final call for questions. We're going to wrap it up here. If there's anything else, please go ahead and get that in that box. We do appreciate everyone for spending a half an hour with us, and definitely Paul and Duane for doing the training. We are a full service Matthews distributor, so please remember to purchase all your Matthews supplies from Glance. And feel free to reach out to your local rep or your local branch. So
Thank you, Heather. We appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
Happy to have you as our distributor, and happy for all the customers that you support. So thanks, everyone.
all right.
Thank
Thanks
you.
you all. Have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Appreciate it.